After the war ended, the legends began. Welcome to Westeros Within, where we journey into forgotten ages, hidden legends, and ancient mysteries. This is Before the Thrones. Episode 2, The Age of Heroes, Westeros Before the Long Night. When the Pact was made on the Isle of Faces, the long war between the first men and the children of the forest finally came to an end. And for the first time in 2,000 years, the land grew quiet. But quiet does not mean empty, because what came next was not silence. It was the age of builders, tricksters, storm kings, and names that would echo for thousands of years. The Age of Heroes. This was the age when history and legend still walked side by side. An age so old, so distant, and so wrapped in story that later generations could never fully separate truth from myth. And maybe they were never meant to, because this was a time when the world still felt unfinished. The great houses were not yet great. The strongest kingdoms were only beginning to rise. And the names that would one day shape Westeros were still becoming legend. Let us begin in the north, with the figure remembered more than any other from this age. Bran the Builder. No name stands taller in the old stories. And no name is harder to see clearly through the fog of time. Some say he was the first Stark. Some say he was only one of many builders, and the name survived longer than the man. But the old tales remember him as something more. A founder, a maker, a man who looked upon the wild north and gave it shape. The stories say Bran raised Winterfell, not the Winterfell of later centuries, with all its towers and halls and ancient crypts beneath the earth, but the first Winterfell, the stronghold built above hot springs, where warmth rose from the ground itself to fight the cold. In a land where winter could last a lifetime, that alone would have been enough to make him a legend. But the stories do not stop there. They say Bran the Builder also raised the wall, a colossal barrier of ice stretching from sea to sea, a line drawn across the world itself. A defense not just against raiders or wild beasts, but against something older, darker, and still waiting beyond this chapter. Some later minds would question it. Could one man truly have built both Winterfell and the wall? Could any man do such things? Maybe not, but that is the nature of this age. Whether Bran was one man, or many, or something in between, his name became attached to the impossible. And that tells us everything, because someone built the wall, someone raised Winterfell, and whoever did it changed the fate of Westeros forever. But the Age of Heroes was not built by one legend alone. Far to the south and west, another name slipped out of the old stories. Not a giant, not a builder, not a king, a trickster. Lann the Clever. The stories say he took Casterly Rock not with siege engines, not with an army, and not with strength, but with wit. Some tales say he crept into the rock through hidden ways and filled its halls with whispers, tricks, and unseen mischief until the Casterlys fled in fear. Others say he made the place seem haunted. Others still turn him into something almost magical. A smiling thief who could outsmart anyone and steal a kingdom without drawing a blade. Was any of it true? Perhaps not exactly, but that hardly matters, because what the story remembers is the point. The Lannisters did not begin with power alone. They began with cunning, with nerve, with charm, with the dangerous kind of intelligence that can win by making others feel safe right until they lose everything. And in that sense, Lann the Clever may be one of the truest ancestors in all of Westeros, because long after him, his house never forgot how to win with the mind. And then there was Durran Godsgrief, perhaps the most defiant of them all. The old tales say Durran fell in love with Elene, daughter of the sea god and the goddess of the wind. And for daring to love a mortal, the gods punished them. On the night of their wedding, the storms came. The winds screamed, the sea rose. And the castle Durran had built was torn apart. His guests died. His family died. The walls were broken. The roof was ripped away. And still, Durran built again. The storms returned, and again they destroyed what he raised. So he built again, and again. 6 times the gods cast his halls down. 6 times Durran refused to yield. And on the 7th time, the castle stood. Storm's End. Even now, thousands of years later, Storm's End remains one of the great strongholds of Westeros. And the old tales say it endured not by stone alone, but by will. Perhaps by magic too. Some stories claim the children of the forest helped raise its walls. Others say the spells of the old world were woven into the stone itself. Whether that is true or not, the legend tells us something deeper. Storm's End was not only built against weather, it was built against defeat. And that more than anything is what defined the Age of Heroes. It was an age when the impossible did not feel impossible yet, when great names rose out of a land still being shaped, when bloodlines were born, when wandering peoples became kingdoms. In the north, the Starks grew into the kings of winter. In other lands, other ancient lines took root. The world of scattered peoples and old forests slowly became a world of strongholds, banners, ancient seats, and rising dynasties. This was the age when Westeros stopped being only wild and began becoming political, not all at once, not cleanly, but steadily, like roots spreading beneath the earth. And through all of this, the children of the forest were still there, fewer now, quieter, deeper in the woods than before, but not gone. Still listening through the weirwoods, still watching through the carved faces, still present in the oldest corners of the world. And here perhaps is the strangest turn of all. The first men who had once cut down the weirwoods began to kneel before them. The conquerors became believers. The people who once feared the old gods began to pray to them. No grand temples, no holy books, no shining priesthood. Only godswoods, only heart trees, only silence. A faith of stillness, a faith of memory, a faith that felt older than words. And in that way, the Age of Heroes was not only the age of builders and kings. It was the age when 2 worlds truly began to live inside one another. The old world of forest, root, and ancient watching. And the new world of men, bloodlines, strongholds, and ambition. Together, they made something new. Something neither could have made alone. That something was Westeros. But no age lasts forever. The stories of this era are filled with wonder. Walls of ice, storm-defying castles, tricksters stealing kingdoms, ancient houses rising out of mist and memory. And yet, even here, there is a shadow at the edge of the tale. Because while kingdoms were rising, while names were becoming legend, while the children of the forest still whispered beneath the trees, something was stirring in the far north. Something cold, something patient, something that had been waiting through all the long years of peace. And when it came, it would test everything the Age of Heroes had built. Every war, every kingdom, every oath, every alliance between man and forest. That story is coming, but not today. Today we remember the age when the world was still young enough for legends to walk the earth, when a builder could raise the impossible, when a trickster could steal a kingdom with his mind, when a storm king could defy the gods themselves and refuse to break. The Age of Heroes. The age when Westeros became Westeros. So tell me this, Which legend from this age stays with you the most? Bran the Builder, Lann the Clever, or Durran Godsgrief? Write it in the comments. And if you want more stories from before the thrones and the forgotten ages of Westeros, subscribe to Westeros Within and join me for the next chapter. Next time, the peace ends, the cold comes, and the long night begins.